long and prosperous.
I was going to Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
Lilu Dallas Multipass.
Shut up and take my money.
By Grabthar's hammer, what a saving.
One does not simply walk into Mordor.
X never, ever marks the spot.
Winter is coming. You're a wizard, Harry.
Stay a while and listen.
Hey, old Kermit the Frog here.
Bow ties are cool.
So say we all.
This is a Play on Nerds.
Welcome to episode 208 of A Play on Nerds. I'm Jarman.
And I'm Steve.
And it's
the other guy.
Yeah, he's the other guy. It's our spooky, creepy Halloween episode. So we are, of course, going to watch and review a creepy movie. So what better film to watch than one with creep in the title, Creepshow. But we have to honor our rule of three, of course. So it's Creepshow 3.
That's right. The smash hits Creepshow involving Steven Spielberg. Well, the third one, he said no thanks. And so that's the one we're going to be talking about.
Of course it is. I'm sure it'll be great. But Steve, what have you been up to since last time we talked? It's been a while, actually.
It has been. Well, I'm getting ready in the next couple of days to head to California for a few weeks on a short work assignment. Mm-hmm. So Ann and I have been hanging out, and I took a few days off, so I've been spending as much time with the kids as I can. And then I got to get packed at some point, dear God.
Of course.
But today we got to do a trunk or treat down in our little downtown Verona area.
Very cute.
And on Sunday we went to Kennywood, the local amusement park, has like a spooky haunted thing, which really just means rides are open on weekends they wouldn't normally be. Basically. So we went and did Kennywood and did some rides and stuff. And then we hosted a Penn State game.
Yeah.
Where we had about 20 people over in our house watching the game, and we did a nacho bar.
Nice.
It was very good.
You don't get seated for 20 people, do you?
Well, this thing, only about 8 to 10 actually care about the game.
Okay.
So that's really the core seating you need watching the television. But then we had another TV out on the front porch.
Oh, nice.
Where people were just kind of sitting. You could keep an eye on the game, but and then kids were in the backyard playing. So like there's people everywhere. Not everybody is there for like diehard football.
Right. The few guys are planted on the couch. Some of the older gentlemen, perhaps.
Yeah, that's right. You nailed it.
Exactly. Well, very cool. Well, actually, since last we talked, I think that's when you guys came to visit here in Orlando.
Oh, yeah. Also, I went to our high school reunion. That's right. Before all that.
And we talked about recording something, but it was kind of a whirlwind when you guys got here.
Yeah, that was quick.
Yeah, it was a lot going on. It was a lot of fun. Steve and I went together to the high school reunion with our wives, and it was a lot of fun. Went off pretty much without a hitch. We didn't take enough pictures, of course, but I think
nobody did.
I think we got one with us all in it, I think, somewhere.
Maybe.
Not with our wives, though. It's terrible.
No,
we're
definitely
so
not. Well, we started drinking early.
That's part of it.
And then we were drinking in the middle, and then we were drinking late.
We played some games at our house, some board games and stuff. It was a good time, and no recordings were made. But now that we're getting older, we might have more chances to come visit each other. We're on both on the East Coast now, so we'll make some future live recordings. Absolutely. I've had two hurricanes affect me since we last talked, I think. My sister lives in Asheville, where a giant hurricane hit real hard, so she stayed near my mom's house 20 minutes away for a couple weeks. And then Tampa was hit really hard, where my wife's parents live, so they stayed with us at our house for about a week. And so luckily everybody's okay. Damage minimal. They can upgrade things and fix things. It's okay.
Good.
Yeah. And I'm in a Star Trek play. I wasn't auditioning for anything because I just don't have any time, but a friend of mine called and begged to have me, not begged, he just asked. And he asked me to be in this play that
he licked the bottom of my
shoe for hours.
Please, Jarman, bless the stage with your cap.
It wasn't like that. But he did know that I can act decently, and I really enjoy Star Trek. And they're doing this short play thing where they do, like, I think 7 short plays for performance. And one of the short plays was based off Star Trek, kind of, and there's a character kind of based off of Bones, and they needed somebody to fill that spot because they didn't get somebody auditions for it. And so I said, sure, I'll do it. And then so I've been in rehearsals for that. A lot of fun people. It's a really cute play. It's really easy to memorize. It was like 10 pages long. So I was like, yes, okay, I can handle this. This is fine. But yeah, I'll let you know how that goes. But Star Trek,
Killer.
obviously, I'm a fan of. So there you go.
We got a show for Star Trek.
That's right. But that brings us to some nerdy news.
It's time for Nerdy News.
All right. Well, the cheeky name for my cheeky story that isn't going to make sense to the end, so bear with me, is Leave Brittany Alone.
Fair.
Researchers from a joint team of 3 different universities studying if social influence could affect escape strategies in animals. So a big animal behavioral study. So they got a bunch of mice and they used really heavy observation and machine learning models to observe behaviors. And they found a consistent pattern. So there would be aggressive encounters between males over females. These happened all the time. And when one of the males was clearly either smaller, weaker, or getting his shit kicked in, he changed tactics. So the weaker male in this very, very submissive posture would go over and just start giving the female attention. Like ignoring the other male, giving the female attention. The other male was like, hey, wait a minute, that's my female. And while he walked over and started talking to her, the other little guy got the hell out. Uses social interaction to allow himself to escape. And they saw this pattern over and over again. And the thing that caught me about this story was imagining this on a human scale. So imagine you're in the nightclub, music's bumping, 2 guys, one a little bit taller, one a little shorter, both try to buy the same girl a drink. Things escalate the way they do. But then out of nowhere, just as people are about to shove, blah, 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 the little guy stops what he's doing and walks over to Brittany. He's like, so as I was saying before, this guy interrupted us, Brittany. And the big dumb guy is like, hey, you're not talking to Brittany. I'm talking to Brittany. And while he walks over and starts talking to Brittany, little guy gets the fuck out of there.
So random. But that mice are doing this is impressive.
Yeah. And continuously. So yeah, that is leave Brittany alone.
Leave Brittany alone. Which transitions not perfectly at all to our main segment.
I would say just perfectly.
Creepshow 3.
All right. So this is a telling of multiple stories, somewhat intertwined, confusingly or otherwise. It starts out with just a poorly animated sequence of a child in a hoodie stealing a dog and then murdering it and then selling its meat to other children. We then get a cut to an idyllic suburban sprawl where a girl gossips on her phone. As she walks home, a ball rolls towards her and she loses her mind and screams at a guy. But she hates this neighborhood, and we know because she says it 4 times. Alice's dad, who is for some reason 12 years older than her, got a universal remote from a street peddler. Alice's grandma starts talking about the importance of ass.
Gotta have it.
And then all of a sudden, Alice is on the phone again. She is hit by some sort of pulse and finds herself in a house empty. She wanders outside looking for everyone and then back in as another pulse hits and there's a family there, but they're all black. And this that's like literally
it's factual.
The same scene from earlier plays out though. And she gets so confused what's happening and then flips again, another pulse, and she relives the same scene, but it's with a Latin family, except for she doesn't speak Spanish. Again, the channel flips. She finds this time upon coming in that parts of her body are like mutated and pussy and leaky
for some reason.
She sees the crazy professor from across the street and goes to try to approach him, but then she gets hit in the face by a ball. And then she just breaking and enterings into the professor's house. So she tries to call 911. That doesn't work out. So she just she's partially malformed at this part. just starts drinking and eating snacks and then ruins a wedding cake that she's just okay ruining. And then even with like maimed hand and boiled face, she has like the audacity to laugh at the fact that the professor is getting married and who would marry him. It makes no sense. A delivery man walks into the professor's house to deliver a package and like kind of confronts her, but then it's just fine and he leaves, so it doesn't matter. Like, it was so strange. She gets hit by a pole. She gets flicked back home. Her grandma uses a slur for gay men, and her father flips the channel one more time. She is now like fully transformed and oozing monster. They yell, the family freaks out. They yell at the dad to grab a gun, which apparently he keeps loaded in an unlocked drawer by the front door. So dangerous. The professor reveals that he was the bad guy the whole time and transforms Alice into a rabbit. And then my final comment here is, what a bad, nonsensical sketch. At least it was short.
And they decided to start the movie with that one. That was
what they started with.
It made no sense whatsoever, and there's no lesson learned. I was so confused. Sorry. So next, we have a cool guy rent-a-cop off from his overnight shift. He goes back to his very rundown apartment, which may also be a brothel, where Eva, a call girl, says hi to him very seductively. He grabs a beer and tries to tune his radio, which he breaks the antenna off. So he just goes down to some hobos who are selling stuff. And then this is my note. That fucking hobo was the best character in the entire movie. And I haven't even seen all of the movie at the point I made that note. He kept saying, yeah.
Yeah. Give me the money. Give me the money. I want to see the money. Yeah. Buy it. Yeah. That guy was fucking nuts. He was my absolute favorite.
It's so weird.
It was so weird, but he was my favorite. So he buys a $5 radio and goes to listen to it, but then breaks the antenna off of that. So he takes some of the hobo's advice and rigs a coat hanger and duct tape to get a signal. He's about to throw it in rage when a voice says, "Don't stop that." So he grabs his gun, which is also just incredibly accessible.
It was on the floor or something.
But he finds no one. Later, he goes to turn off the radio, which tells him not to do it. It's like a sexy lady voice. And the sexy radio makes him clean the kitchen and then makes him make a sandwich. It starts to give him life advice, and he kind of takes it with him everywhere. Tells him to say hi to Eva, the prostitute, and then tells him to yell at a crying woman, which he also does. The radio is really helping him get his life together, and I'm here for it.
Yell at crying women. That's what we should do.
She makes him go out and climb into a warehouse window. He also breaks and enters, looking through boxes. He gets attacked by a cat and then runs into a dead squirrel, which is apparently a big deal. But he finds a box of money and then makes a run for it. On his way with a box of money, he bumps into a guy who sees the money, and the radio just says, "Well, you're going to have to kill him, you know. He saw the money. You have to kill him." The guy tries to break in that night, so he throws him over the fucking balcony and murders him. But then his girlfriend, who they imply she's a junkie, sees it, so he kidnaps her and stabs her a bunch of times and then makes it look like a murder-suicide. It is nuts. The father from sketch one is the detective sent to investigate the murder-suicide, and the radio just tells the main guy, just be cool. Just be cool.
Be cool, bro. Be cool, bro.
Jerry decides it's time to get out of town. He picks up Eva the prostitute, but the radio says, well, Eva's going to kill him once she knows about the money, and Jerry won't do it. So Jerry destroys the radio, but then Eva grabs a gun and shoots him. But then Eva's pimp, who is following the whole time, shoots her. And it turns out Eva's pimp is now getting a voice lesson from the sexy radio. And he's going to diversify. We then get a unceremonious cut to a hallway. where two people are having what sounds like aggressively loud sex, but ends up being a guy stabbed to death. Rachel is a prostitute, just more prostitutes in this movie. A young guy gives her a call. She heads over to his place. Her pimp is the same pimp from the last sketch. I guess he diversified.
Or no, he yelled at her when she exited the building saying, "Who are you? You're on my territory." So she doesn't work for him.
Right.
Yeah. It's important details.
Yeah, important details. A young guy, gives her a call. She heads over. A blonde woman starts preaching at her, and so she just stabs her in two and then hops in a Mercedes convertible. And she's like, "I'll be at your place in 15 minutes. And it's daytime. And then when she pulls up to the place, it is clearly hours later. It is full dark.
Midnight.
So did not take her 15 minutes. I don't know what she got caught up doing.
LA traffic sucks.
The radio is conveniently doing a story on a call girl killer as she just picks out the perfect knife in her glove box to use. She meets the young victim who talks about how he's the black sheep of the family and how parents only love his older brother who wins all the trophies. She ties him up, blindfold him at his request, and it seems too easy. She stabs him repeatedly and then is like, time to take a shower. She is an awful serial killer. She's just getting DNA everywhere, evidence all over the place. But then she hears a ghostly voice. She follows it, and the voice is asking, "Why did you kill me?" She approaches the body, which has turned into a horrible, toothy, maud beast, and it bites her to death. It's basically revealed that he actually killed the whole family that he had been talking about, and he's really the hunter. And he takes her car and some golf clubs and gets the hell out of there.
Going golfing, I guess.
Smash cut to a long white hallway. A woman calls for Professor Dayton from the rabbit sketch earlier. They want to see his progress from his research. She asks him about a wedding invitation that she received and confirms that he's actually getting married. We get a cut back to the last sketch where the call girl pulls up and says hi to two guys. They're there to see the professor. He invited them for his wedding. I don't know. I wrote this down. What was the professor's direction? Sit at this desk and use this screw gun to do science.
Oh, I saw that. He was just like not screwing anything. It was just like not even touching whatever he's doing.
What is happening? The two guys are there for his wedding. He introduces his wife, who's like a blonde bombshell. And the guys are really perplexed, but settle on the theory that the professor finally actually created a perfect woman. Kathy seems really confused and sort of like blacks out a few times. They think she's a robot and they try to get her to eat or drink to prove it because they think the professor did it. The men sort of recount the professor's pranks. We get weird flashbacks. It seems like the professor putting kids in very dangerous situations, including making one be bit by a rattlesnake. But now they're going to play the ultimate prank on him. They're going to go find her off switch. They bludgeon her in the head and then murder her and disassemble her while marveling at just covered in blood, marveling at the creation. Only when they find a scrapbook do they realize that she may have been real and was actually a mail order bride. The professor comes home. They feverishly hide the body like fucking toddlers. And they somehow have time to clean the kitchen, covered in blood. And the professor finds her head in the oven. We then go to the front of a Chinese restaurant where a man with a briefcase is screaming at the proprietor. A homeless man begs for change, but only receives good thoughts. And then he skips a line of people waiting for a hot dog. He drops the hot dog in the dirt, gives it to the homeless man, who chokes on it and dies somehow.
Yep.
Briefcase man walks his way to a free clinic where he's been sentenced to community service. He takes some pills and starts seeing patients. He clearly doesn't care. He takes more pills. Man I wrote, they really, really don't want us to feel bad for whatever is going to happen to this guy.
He says some terrible things.
And then, for fuck's sake, the treatment montage just kept going and going and going. Him treating patients, saying snarky things, taking more pills. That went on for like 6 minutes somehow. It was incredible.
Maybe longer.
His shift is over, but he goes to leave, and the ghost of the hot dog eating homeless man appears.
A sentence you never thought you'd say.
That's right. He walks past the homeless radio salesman hobo from the first sketch and goes to get laid. Suddenly the professor is there, and he wants a voodoo kit from the old guy. Meanwhile, the doctor goes up to a room, and the sharp-toothed maw man from earlier, we're in a different part of the timeline now, is there, and there's sleazy girls all over the place. The doctor sort of peruses around, flirting and canoodling, but then the homeless ghost shows up again and spooks him. He takes a bunch of pills. The ghost still appears, and the doctor makes a run for it. That's when the real party begins, because the sharp-toothed maw people all gorge on the party goers in a connection to the previous sketch, I guess. The next day, the doc is back to work, having slept at his office. It's just an extra awful day. We get another way too long montage. A girl and her father come in. The doc says she has a brain tumor, and he knows that from one scan. It is just awful. The homeless man continues to appear to him. The doc ends up running home, making a sandwich, but the homeless ghost is there too. It pulls the hot dog from inside its stomach and is trying to get him to take a bite of it. And the doc collapses on the street and dies from hot dog poisoning, I guess.
Yeah, something.
And I wrote, and I thought it was done. And then I wrote, oh God, another one. The professor is getting married. His bride's face is entirely bandaged. Her hand comes off when she throws the bouquet, implying that he used the voodoo manual to somehow bring her back. I guess good for him. A man of science is like, I'll turn to voodoo at the last minute. The family is all worried about the mother because she thinks she has a daughter named Alice that everyone else has seemingly forgot from the first sketch. The hot dog man turns because he was relevant. His face is a grotesque rot. And that's all, folks. This
so bad.
I've seen the first two Creepshows.
I have not.
They are really, watch them. They're a great Halloween watch. They're episodic, so they're short. Even if you don't like one section, there'll be another one. They are great. The first one involves Spielberg. Second one was, I think, Spielberg and
Romero
and maybe one other. And so it was great collaboration, great horror. This one is the one where Spielberg, of course, stepped out and said, no, thank you. And as soon as I saw the quality of the film.
Oh, yeah.
At the beginning, I went, oh, no.
You would never know it was made in 2006 because it's like the quality of the film looks like it's from the 90s. Like, it's nuts.
As soon as I saw the quality, I went, oh, this is going to be bad. It's going to be very bad. Okay, let's pull a couple bodies out of the fire before we get into the pit.
Yeah, things we liked. We'll take turns here. I'd say this is the first one. It didn't take itself too seriously, I guess. Kind of. It was very, I'm trying to make this into a good thing. Cheesy,
like
hokey, tongue in cheek. Yeah.
I will say the sketch with the radio, I thought was the most successful.
Yeah, most coherent.
The least reliant on effects. It was the most coherent. And the guy who is in it is actually maybe the only actor whose career escaped.
I saw that. Yeah.
This movie. He's done a lot of other indie horror stuff and a few bigger things.
And him and the white student of the professor has gone on to become a big voice actor. So that's pretty cool.
Okay.
But I looked up everybody else. You're right. Not a single person in this movie.
Very few people.
Anything.
So I thought that one was actually pretty good. If
That's
all
true.
of them had been that quality, I would have been fine with this thing. I I liked that there were, I did like that the stories interconnected. They weren't very good, but I liked that they did that. I did.
Yeah,
it
they
showed
tried.
someone was thinking. I liked the setup that we had for like a little bit of time jumpy kind of stuff.
A little back and forth of the timeline. The detective was the father of the family. The grandmother was the dean of the professor's university.
Was the dean of the yeah. Like there were some cool things there. The issue is that they did jump around in the timeline, and the movie was not good enough for me to understand always when that was.
Mm-hmm.
It just wasn't good enough for that. I'm sorry, movie. You tried. Some of the practical effects were pretty good.
Like some of the gunshot wounds looked pretty cool, I guess. I put that
the CGI was pretty bad.
CGI was bad. I put the music was bad, but at least it was appropriate for what was happening on the screen. Like it made
yeah. Someone actually like orchestrated it for this movie. It just wasn't very good.
It just wasn't good music.
Yeah, that's all.
I put at least it was an anthology, so when I was being bored or disappointed by one segment, I could then move on and be bored and disappointed by the next segment. So that was good.
But yeah, and I think the one real body to pull out of this train wreck is that homeless man.
Yeah,
him coming back and being linked to the professor was so good, and I was so happy I got to see him again.
They were buddies
late in the movie. That was so good. Okay, now let's talk about maybe some rough things. Everything else.
Yeah, I put also a negative. It didn't take itself seriously at all. So there's nothing was taken seriously. God, that the segment of the professor was so goofy and didn't fit in with the rest of the movie at all. It was just like cheesy jokes, but then they're like dismembering a body and like it didn't fit. It was terrible. Like take some of it seriously, you know, to make us scared ever or thrilled ever. Like never happened the whole movie.
Yeah, the fact that they were talking about it and then somehow the delusion of them convincing themselves that it's like it's a blood replacement and oh look at the circuitry. It's like what is happening? They would cut her once and go, oh my god, she's not a robot, dude.
It's a real person.
The fuck did we do?
It was completely unrealistic.
But then also the first sketch with Alice was just bad.
It made no sense.
It was just bad. Yeah, she's like hates this neighborhood. It's like a really nice neighborhood, by the way, too.
Yeah.
A ball rolls towards her, and that's like the worst thing that happens in her day.
And she somehow, we don't know why she's suddenly coming apart and turning into a monster. That's not explained. That doesn't make any sense. She's a rabbit. That doesn't make any sense. It's like someone's fever dream. It literally makes no sense. It was completely incoherent. Yeah. I put
the radio one. I said the radio one was fine.
It was, yeah, the radio one was fine. It didn't really do anything. I think it failed in the same way the rest of them did, and that there was no likable lead characters. Like the closest thing we got, I think, was the nurse was a good person in the last segment. But like,
oh yeah.
But otherwise, everyone else is not likable. So if there's no one likable in your movie, there's no protagonist. There's nothing to follow along with and enjoy or connect to. It was just like one like disappointing scenario after another. You know, it's just terrible.
Yeah. And yeah. I don't know. There's not a lot. There's not a lot of great things to say about this movie, guys.
I put also
Steven
that
Spielberg walked away for a reason.
Yeah, he
guys.
did. But also the fact that I was thinking in my head, hey, this is a very base human instinct of mine, but for a campy R-rated horror movie before 2010, there was no gratuitous nudity to save the movie either. You know, like there was like one scene where she's in the shower, it's blurred out, and I'm like, and that's a good thing. I'm glad we progressed past gratuitous nudity in all the movies.
And they manually blurred that out. Someone had like frosted the screen
they
with
did.
Like some spray stuff. Like they didn't have budget to blur it.
But so there's cursing, there's blood. It's definitely an R-rated movie. It's like, and there's no nudity in this movie. Like it's just at least in campy horror movies, there's nudity. Effects were bad, acting subpar, writing was completely unnatural, editing was terrible. Like a lot of times it would just cut to things that didn't make any sense. I put this might be one of the worst movies we've watched, and only slightly above the Nutcracker, because at least this one was broken up into segments that were different, so I could get my attention, keep going.
I think that might be what saved this one.
Yeah, that's it.
And then once again, them connecting the stories was enough for me to go, oh, a few times.
Yes.
Which at least was redeeming, as opposed to Nutcracker, which was not redeeming whatsoever.
I'm just remembering it worse and worse every time.
Yeah, it does. So there are plenty of great Halloween spooky films to watch this holiday season, and this is not one of them.
No, it's not, but I'm glad I watched it because I know now what the hell this train wreck was. So some trivia here. Tales from the Dark Side, the movie from 1990, is often considered the true Creepshow 3 because of George A. Romero and Stephen King's contributions to that film. So they kind of saw where Creepshow 3 was going, like, nah, we'll do our own thing if we're going to do that crap. According to one of Professor Dayton's wedding invitations, the neighborhood in which all of Creepshow 3's stories take place in, that nice neighborhood, was called Creepyville because they're so creative. It has a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. Steve Barton at Dread Central, critic there, called it a in-name only sequel that was void of any character, depth, integrity, scares, or feeling. James Butane, also of Dread Central, rated it 2 out of 5. That's generous. And he said, "This is not a movie worthy to be called Creepshow for any reason, believe me." And then Rob Hunter of Slash Film panned the film as bad and said, "The film never feels like a Creepshow film." So I really have to watch the first two then, because this one is not a good example of what the hell this is.
No, the first two Creepshows are great and great Halloween watching.
Nice.
If you're looking for something that's going to have a little bit of something for everybody, they're awesome.
What's the one that's more recent that has the pumpkin-headed little kid?
So that's Trick or Treat.
That's another one like that.
That is also a good one.
Yeah, Joey loves that one.
The ones that I really like is VHS.
VHS
now
is
4
that's
of them.
more scary though. Yeah,
VHS 2, 3, and then now Beyond just came out, and
they're very
creepy.
Watched
all of them, and some of them are incredibly creepy.
Yeah, that one's great.
And one of them was made by the guy that we had on from Blair Witch for the fairy thing.
Absolutely, yeah. He was he did one of those segments, I believe.
Yeah, VHS too.
But that brings, I believe, to our game segment. We're going to play something called Rad Voices of Horror. So Steven doesn't know what this is, but basically, Steve, what I'm going to do is I'm taking why it's rad is because it's all movies from the 80s. These are trailers from horror movies of the 80s. And all you're going to get is the voiceover guy who was in every trailer back then, amping up the movie.
Fontaine.
And then you got to tell me what the movie is based off the crap he's saying.
Ooh, okay.
Based off the context clues, and sometimes easier than others. And I will give a hint that there's only one that is from the 70s. So just be aware there's one from the 70s.
Okay.
And the first one's kind of a giveaway, but we'll start now with the first.
Help get me warm.
Exactly.
Okay.
Coming soon, jolting tales of horror from the author of Carrie, The Shining, and Cujo, and the creator of Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead. You'll scream at ghastly ghouls, cringe at weird kids, and shiver at the doings of evil doctors. The most fun you'll ever have being scared.
Creepshow.
That's right. Creepshow 1. That was the giveaway.
Nailed it. Okay.
All right. You got how this works. Was that a good volume for you? Could you hear that okay?
Yeah, that sounded fine to me.
Okay, perfect. Here we go. Here's the next one.
I have seen the future of horror. Beyond any terror you have imagined. A nightmare, unlike anything you have witnessed, is born. Because within these walls, the unholy is unleashed.
A little more difficult.
Within these walls, the unholy is unleashed. The Exorcist?
No.
That's too early. I'm I don't know.
Yeah, he doesn't get too direct with his comments. These are all spliced in between the trailer. I had to like cut out the parts in between.
Right.
But that is Hellraiser.
Okay, that makes perfect sense.
If he said something about pain, it would have been more obvious, but it didn't say anything.
All right, I'm with you.
All right, here's the next one. What is it? I gotta see what it is first. Okay.
Someone is watching you. He's waiting for you. Someone wants to scare you to death. You won't be coming home.
That's a little harder.
Nightmare on Elm Street?
No. Maybe
Someone will be
focus on the
scaring
you won't be coming home.
I mean, Home from Camp, Friday the 13th.
That's very close, and you're close with the camp.
Sleepaway Camp.
Yes, I'm gonna give it to you
Man.
because that was a hard one. It's short.
Just give me a half point. Give me a
Half
for that
point.
one.
All
I don't
right.
feel good about a whole one.
All right, here's the next one.
13 years ago, audiences across America were horrified by the savagery of a faceless killer. In the wake of this bizarre rampage, he vanished. Now, after more than a decade of silence, he has come out of hiding. The buzz is back.
Some context clues in there.
13 years ago. The buzz is back. Candyman? Or a
No.
sequel to Candyman?
What would the buzz be about?
The bees in Candyman.
Oh, that's a thought. I didn't think about that. But
That's why. I didn't say it out of nowhere.
that's fair.
why.
That's fair. I see that now.
The buzz of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like a buzz of a chainsaw.
Close, but what does he say at the beginning of the trailer?
I have no idea.
13 years ago, audiences were first encountering this man.
Leatherface.
So they counted him 13 years ago for the first time.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Yeah.
Oh my God. All right.
Half point.
The chainsaw at least makes sense for the buzz.
That's
though.
true. But I didn't think about the bees. That's a good point. That was good. All right, here we go.
Of all the planets in the galaxy, they chose ours. They hide in small places. They light the dark. There's nothing cute about them. They've come a long way, and they're hungry. They bite.
Critters. It's got to be critters.
Yeah, it's critters. Woo!
Okay.
That was a little easier. Okay, here we go. This one's really hard. I apologize in advance, but I thought this was hilarious.
Fuck.
Michael and Sam have just moved to Santa Carla, California. They're about to discover its secret.
Well, that's Lost Boys.
Yes.
That's the easiest one. I know that.
Oh, I didn't know if you've seen that movie much at all or if anything, because they gave their names
Well,
and
yeah,
everything.
they make up. Yeah, they make up fake. It's like fake Santa Cruz. Or they call it like Santa Cara or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
80s music, just really rocking in that one.
Yeah, dude, there's a saxophone song in that movie that is still, I think, like a hot banger.
Oh, the shirtless guy with the muscles playing the
I think it's
saxophone.
called "I Still Believe," if I remember correctly.
I'd never seen The Lost Boys, so that's a thing.
I just listened to that music over and over again.
All right, good job. All right, here's the next one.
Somewhere between science and superstition, there is another world of darkness. Nobody expected it, nobody believed it, and nothing could stop it. The one hope, the only hope.
I had to cut out some key words.
Dreamscape?
No.
It's a world between worlds. I was trying to think.
Science and superstition.
That Doctor Strange we watched.
That would be great. But no, I'm not going to give this one to you. This is the one from the 70s.
Don't.
You did say it in an earlier question, is The Exorcist.
Ah.
All right, here we go. Next one up.
Everyone has a birthday they'll always remember. Everyone knows most accidents happen at home. This is no accident. Someone's moved in with the Barclay family. And so has terror. No one believes the truth or lives to tell it. There's nothing nice about murder, and there's nothing innocent.
I wish you all could see the faces he's making while he's thinking.
The Barclay family. Someone's moved in. I'm going to say Poltergeist.
No, that's a good guess with the family.
I don't remember what the family was called.
But the answer is
I just
Child's
remember
Play.
Carol Ann.
Child's Play. Yeah, he moves in
right.
with the family. All right, we got 2 left here. Here we go. Next one up.
Nothing that lives in the imagination is more frightening than the terror that lives in Castle Rock, Maine. Comes a startling vision of fear. Now there's a new name for terror.
There's a little hint in there, obviously, that narrows it down a bit.
It does. I'm going to say, I think it's a Stephen King.
Mm-hmm. I like how some of these things are so generic.
I'm going to say
scary.
Salem's Lot.
No, good guess, but it is actually Cujo. I don't think I've seen Cujo either.
I'm not even sure what in there told me it was it was a Castle Rock, Maine. That's
right. That's always
that's one of his towns.
That has I think it's in Castle Rock as well, isn't it? Or it's in Maine.
It is in Derry,
Maine.
But they reference. There's actually a great short video. It's like 8 minutes long, and it's the extended world of Stephen King that really explains where and how all the books connect to each other.
Yeah,
highly recommend.
Because Dark Tower connects all his books too. And there was a show called Castle Rock as well that had a bunch of stuff, all the Stephen King in it, but I didn't ever see it. All right, here's your last one.
All right, last one. God damn it. Okay.
Herbert West is at the top of his class in medical school. He's brilliant, but a little weird. His experiments have always been unorthodox, but lately they're getting out of hand. And he's just made a discovery that could wake up the dead. Once you wake up the dead, you've got a real mess on your hands. It will scare you to pieces.
That's a great voiceover.
That is Reanimator.
That is correct. Woo! Which we watched on the podcast, I believe, at some point. Oh,
I think we watched the third one in the series. Maybe
no, I remember watching the first one for some reason.
Was it the first one? I remember the disembodied head.
Yeah, I think that was the first
fellatio. One. I remember that
because I remember seeing his introduction as a character and stuff. We watched it because of some other movie that was coming out. I guess
that was crazy.
So I don't know how many you got there, but we'll say you got 4 out of 10.
2 and a quarter feels okay.
I'm gonna give you a 4 out of 10 for effort.
Hey, I'll take 4 out of 10 for effort.
But that was Rad Voices of Horror.
Well, speaking of rad, I guess that takes us to some radical recommends.
It sure does.
I recommend. If you have the means, I highly recommend picking one up.
What do you recommend I do?
I recommend Pleasant.
All right, so as we creep into the spookiest time of the season, we're constantly on the lookout for good sci-fi horror kind of stuff to watch to get us in the spooky mood. And something that we recently got access to through Amazon and I believe Freevee that we've both really been enjoying is The Twilight Zone, the new one produced by Jordan Peele.
Oh, yeah.
And we've watched probably 5-6 episodes at this point, and it's good sci-fi horror-driven suspense style stories that are perfect for this Halloween watching season.
Hell yeah. I watched the first season, but I don't think I ever saw the second season, and it was stupidly canceled.
But yeah, so on Amazon, you can watch it through Freevee. You do have to watch commercials. There's no option without it. But I highly recommend, if you're looking for some good viewing this Halloween, check out The Twilight Zone.
I mean, Jordan Peele, can't go wrong. He's fantastic.
He's real good.
Oh, yeah. Good recommendation. But that brings us to some trailer reviews. All right, sticking with our spooky theme, We have a movie called Wolf Space Man.
Wolf Man.
Not Wolf Man. Wolf.
Wolf
Man. Wolf Man. All right. So this is the same people who did the director of The Invisible Man remake movie, which had the woman from Mad Men in it. And it's actually a very good movie, kind of reimagining a whole different kind of storyline plot than the original Invisible Man, commenting on social issues and stuff. This is now from Blumhouse, but the same director as Invisible Man doing Wolf Man. It has
Wolf Man.
The only actress I recognize is the one from Jason Bateman's series, The Ozarks, and she's fantastic in that show, and she's plays the lead female character in this movie. I don't recognize any other actors, but that's okay. It looks like good effects, super scary. They're kind of lost in the woods because they go off the road and they fall into a tree because they're being chased by some kind of creature. This family, her and her husband and their daughter and some other person that we don't see for more than 2 seconds. And they get scratched by the creature before they can get safely to a cabin, trying to call for support. And while they're stuck in this cabin, the husband starts slowly turning into the Wolf Man.
Wolf Man.
Man. So, Steve, what do you think of this trailer?
Okay, so I like that from what we can see, they're staying away from like the sort of superstitious part of the Wolfman mythos. There's not some old gypsy lady telling us about the curse and warning us all of our death. So that's good. I like that it looks like they're taking it more in like a infection kind of angle.
Yeah.
Which I think would fits in with today's horror scope much better. So there's some things that intrigue me, but at the same time, I thought we were done with the dark universe, but it seems like they just can't give it up. So I'm honestly not sure what to think.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I like that The Invisible Man had some social commentary that worked. It was like during the Me Too movement on the edge of that, where it's like, in this abusive husband was the Invisible Man kind of thing. So I'm wondering if there's going to be any kind of social commentary in this, or it's just a horror movie. And maybe it's just playing off our COVID infection fears, plagues, that kind of thing, going with the Wolfman being an infection. But I don't know. I mean, it's got good cinematography, good actress in it, but yeah, much until reviews come out. I'm like you said, more dark universe stuff kind of thing. Do we need this? But it's Halloween season.
Who asked for this? Ooh.
Everyone who watches horror movies all the time, I guess. So what do you give this one, Steve?
I am going to give this one it's like an early Friday. Raul has to go in early for inventory. He gets up, gets a quick shower, grabs his coffee, heads out the door, and he goes to turn on the car, and he realizes the windshield's really fogged, which doesn't make any sense, but he realizes it's like warm in here, like someone came in and turned the heater on before he got in. So he's got he's like, God damn it, I'm gonna be late again. And he goes and he starts adjusting the knobs and try to get the air going. He turns on the windshield wipers. The windshield wipers clear it, and then on his hood is Gary Busey.
Damn it, Gary!
And he just goes, Raul, are you gonna pick up that yarn I asked you about?
That's yarn. He uses for conspiracy theory boards.
That's my review.
Oh, good. Yes. My review for this is one day, Raul's got to get Gary up for work because Gary got a job at Pizza Hut. So he's finally getting paid his way to stay with him.
One of the last 12 Pizza Huts.
That's right. And so he's like, Gary, you need to wake up. And he startles Gary. So Gary goes like this, just scratches him by accident. He's like, God damn it, Gary. And he gets a Band-Aid, covers it up. And then weeks start to pass by, and slowly Raul Julia realizes he has an infection of some kind. And he's like, what is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? And he turns into another Gary Busey over time. Wait, a Gary space Busey over time.
Gary Busey.
That's how Gary Busey's reproduce, is they turn others into Gary Busey.
That's right. They just infect others.
That's my review.
Well, I don't know. I would love the Dark Universe to work. It was certainly intriguing, but I'm not sure this is the movie that's going to do it.
Yeah, it almost could have been cool, but I don't know even if they're going to connect these movies. They're kind of just their own little things, but same director.
They definitely won't. Well, join us next time. The wildly successful Netflix series Cobra Kai is in its final season. They're releasing the second half of the finale season. And so we are going to honor it in our own way with a rule of 3. And we're going to watch Karate Kid 3, where it all began.
The best of the series.
That's right. It probably has a rockin' theme song, and I can't wait to hear it. All of that and more next time. Come on back and be our nerdy audience. We will keep on coming back and being your nerdy co-hosts. Thanks again, Internet.
Stay nerdy, my friends.
Thanks for listening to A Play on Nerds. Feel free to email feedback at aplayonnerds.com with all your questions or comments.
Shoot us a message on Facebook or Twitter and earn yourself a sweet shout out on the show.
Review us on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts so even more nerds can find us. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, we aren't picky.
Check out our entire back catalog and other offerings at aplayonnerds.com.
And how?